Hi, I'm Ringle. I'm an instructor on iquilt, and I want to talk a little bit today about pre-washing fabrics. I know this is a very controversial topic. Some people don't want to pre-wash, and some don't believe it's necessary. But we get a lot of calls in our studio from people who've had to wash their quilts that hadn't planned on it, and sometimes those fabrics run. And sometimes there are other, they thought that they were never going to wash it, but maybe they had a flooded basement or someone spilled something, or it's just gotten dusty over the years. And it's really, really nice to know that if you need to wash your quilt, it's not going to run and it's not going to shrink. And so we did a little research trying to figure out, when I hear people say that actually, the commercial fabrics don't run, I decided to do a little test. So I got a plain unused color catcher, and then I threw in a color catcher that was with a commercially produced fabric line that had already been pre-washed. So this was in the second wash after the quilt was finished. And you can see how much dye was still coming off the quilt. Now, this color catcher was used when I took some commercially available hand-dyed fabrics, and it had also been fixed with Synthropol, and look how much dye came off. So one of the reasons to pre-wash is so you don't have fugitive dye that's running onto your whites and creating blotches. And another one is for shrinkage. Many fabric companies source fabrics from different countries, and the cottons can shrink at different rates. So before you start piecing, and you're going to spend so much time piecing and quilting, take that 15 minutes, pre-wash your fabrics, dry them, shrink them down as much as they're going to shrink, and then start your piecing. Now, several years ago, there was a team of textile engineers who did research on commercial fabrics and how to prevent fading with commercial fabrics. And they determined that the mineral content, the local water's mineral content, was the biggest determining factor on whether or not the dyes were going to fade over time. So we can't really control that, but they did have some advice on what to wash it with. And the number one thing they suggested is don't use a detergent. Detergents are meant to get out grass stains and body oils and things like that. And that's not really what we're usually getting out of a quilt for the most part. We just need to get the dust off of it, and maybe some chalk and any other kind of body oils from using the quilt. But most of the time it's just dust and that sort of thing. So the number one soap that they suggested you wash with was Orvis equine shampoo, which isn't necessarily available to everyone. So the second best option was Ivory Ultra dishwashing liquid. So it's in the white bottle, and it's in the dishwashing liquid section of your superstore or your grocery store. We have a front-loading washer, and I usually put about a teaspoon in. If you have a top-loading washer, you want to put a little bit more in, but you don't need a full cup, maybe just a tablespoon or so. We also use it for our towels and find it great for that. So if you're going to pre-wash your fabrics, use a little bit of Ivory Ultra and pre-wash on, we usually do ours on warm because that's the temperature that we would wash the finished quilt on if it were dirty, to get those the oils from your hands that happen while you're making the quilt. And then you would dry it. We dry it on low after it's a finished quilt, but when you're doing your pre-washing, I would just dry it on like a medium or a low to make sure everything is shrunk down and as stable as it can be. And then when you wash your finished quilt, or 10 years or 50 years or from now, and something happens and you need to wash your quilt, you won't worry about any dye running or any shrinkage, and it'll be as good as the day you finished it. So all of these fabrics have already been pre-washed and dried and are ready to piece. For more information on working with solids and other tips, please take my class on iquilt, The Solids Revolution.